All right. Okay. Want to introduce yourself first, Maurice?
Yeah. My name is Maurice. I'm kind of new to the punk scene, but I'm getting a hang of it.
Yeah. I'm Evan. Doing some interviewing with Chat Pile here today with KRUI 89.7.
I'm Luther Manhole. I play guitar in Chat Pile.
I am Stin, and I play bass in Chat Pile.
Captain Ron, play drums in Chat Pile.
For sure. And then Ray will be joining us shortly. That's correct.
Taking a walk, so yeah, he'll be over here in a bit.
Taking a walk. So, Chat Pile, put out your record, God's Country, critically acclaimed, waves of applause from around the music discourse world. How did that come to happen? Because I believe it was the EP beforehand, Please Remove Your Skin. Is that right? That was what came before. Yes, Remove Your Skin, Please. So what changed between that EP and God's Country, do you think, that really sort of put you onto the next level with that? Do you have any theories?
I think a lot of it is luck, of course, but I mean, literally from a practical standpoint, people just don't pay much attention to EPs as much. And the EPs were way more popular than they had any right to be, so we kind of had like a good head start. But then once we had like a full length for people to listen to, I think it just struck a chord with people. So, but yeah, I mostly attribute it to us just being kind of lucky, you know?
Yeah, after the two EPs came out, like Anthony Fantano like put both of them in a video, and that kind of like started a little chain reaction of different people hearing us. And yeah, it was so, I mean, I think we wrote good stuff, but also, you know, there is just an element of a couple people, the correct people heard it and somehow got other people to hear it, you know what I mean? Yeah. So
I mean, not that we don't think it's good, but, you know, like there are so many good records that people don't necessarily latch onto. So yeah, it's just kind of like we don't take for granted that we're in a very privileged position to have people enjoy what we do.
Definitely. I hear what you're saying. It's very interesting in today's day and age where cultural sort of domino effects can be started by singular people who just so happen to hear things like God's Country, for example, and sort of, like you're saying, start that chain reaction. And I mean, it's kind of a give and a take, because on one hand, you've got the lucky few, but at the same time, I mean, living in this era of streaming where everything is available at your fingertips, there really is the option for those real like music heads to go out there and find anything they can imagine, anything that they could picture, you know, listening to, and really just find anything to their heart's content. And I mean, as folks coming out of, you know, Oklahoma, not maybe the greatest local scene, I believe you've talked about that before, wasn't super accepting.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think the scene is good there. It's just our music was not really like what it was.
Well, it's changed.
I don't know.
It's changed a lot too. I mean,
even in the past few years,
the scene pre-COVID and the scene post-COVID, they're like night and day. They don't even. It's not even the same people necessarily like involved in it.
A lot of the people more our age and older just kind of post-COVID seem to not be around as much, and like at shows, at least in OKC, it's like way more young people and stuff. Yeah. It's like way younger than it used to be, which is cool, because it's like it's cool to see. Yeah. It's not just a bunch of like 30 and 40-year-old dudes just like, you know, nodding their head and not having fun at any show because you're not truly punk enough or whatever.
It would be cool to have older people back in the scene or whatever too. But yeah, I think with the new kids, it's a whole breath of fresh air, and they have a very different mindset than like kind of the old guard. There's less gatekeeping. People seem to be more open-minded. Well, it's in some ways. In other ways, you know, kids will be kids.
Hardcore's very popular right now.
Hardcore's popular, and you know, if you're not hardcore, people don't necessarily come out to the shows. But the fact that there is a thriving hardcore scene means that it will eventually evolve and splinter off.
Those people will all be 28 one day and be like, I want to make a post-punk record now.
Exactly. or whatever. Yeah, just like it'll start diversifying just by the nature of how that's always how music works. You know. You know. Yeah, it's cool. But I would say Oklahoma City's in a good place right now. It's way better post-COVID than it was pre-COVID. You know, where we fit into all that, I'm not entirely sure because, you know, we're not a hardcore band.
Right. I think you bring up a really interesting point there about how the scene very much changed post-COVID, and I feel like I haven't seen that discussed as much as you might think you might see it discussed. Is like all these local shows especially, you really see kind of a changing of the guard, and I feel like I've definitely seen that here in the local scene, and I mean that is still middle America, you know, but I feel like it might be safe to assume that might be a larger phenomenon, especially with hardcore coming into the popular music sphere a little bit more.
100%. Yeah.
I think also just people, like a lot of people got into music during the pandemic and were just like at home, and now that like shows are happening again, we're like a couple years out, I just think everyone's just, it seems like people are just like stoked to go to shows and more people are going to things. I mean, hopefully that is a thing that continues and lasts, but it just seems like I think people kind of had some pent up desire to go to shows or start bands or do anything, and so that's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
I'm Reagan Bush.
The one and only.
Sing for Chet Pile.
Woo! Yeah.
We're in the alley.
Yeah. Alley outside Gabe's. Back alley interview right now. Love to see
I
it.
wore shorts today because it's been like hot every single day on tour, and today it's cold. I just like put faith in the fact that it would be warm, and here we are. You can relate though. Yeah.
Maurice is out here. He's braving the cold right now.
We're brothers in arms on this one.
All right. So, like, tell me, like, how did you guys meet and, like, what inspired you to make music?
So we have actually all been friends for a long time. Like Ron and I are actually brothers. I've known Ray since I was in my early 20s. I've known Luther for 10 years plus at least. And we just all hung out and just kind of got to a place in our lives where it just made sense to start a band together. Okay. And as far as the inspiration goes, I mean, we all have very, very different musical taste, but we have kind of like a similar approach to making art and a way that we approach art and stuff. So it just kind of meshes that way.
Definitely. And I think that sort of brings it back where each of you have very different music tastes, you're saying. And would you say that because of that very like unique music taste that you may have had at the time, it sort of brought you together a little bit just because all of you were kind of doing your own thing, but we're all very interested in music?
Yeah, I would say that like more than anything, we're like, I don't know of a more eloquent way of putting it, but we're music nerds, right? Like,
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we in all of the entire realm of like pop music or what rock music, whatever history of
Popular music.
Popular music you want to like put it, you know. So just by the nature of us all having very broad taste, that is sort of the unique thing that we all have in common, you know. Like, you know, none of us are like incredibly narrow in what we listen to. You know?
Yeah, we all definitely bond. I mean, we bond over movies a lot more than music, the four of us, I would say. Movies are kind of something we talk about a lot in the car, more so than like discussing what bands we like, honestly. But we've been a little more music focused this leg, but we've been like punishing ourselves with like.
Yeah, usually the music we listen to on tour is like the bad, like truly
nightmare music.
Like, we've been listening to like a lot of John Mayer on this trip.
He has this song called Heartbreak Warfare, which is like one of the worst songs ever, and we listen to it like 5 times a day. It's like, yeah, listen at your own risk. It's a true earworm.
The second Days of the New album has like come up a whole lot.
Yeah, a bunch of Creed, which, you know, no shade, you know, we love Creed, but.
Getting back to basics.
Yeah, we have our big tour playlist that we listen to in the van that is like half just like terrorism basically, and like the Family Guy theme just played in there because
so that's the thing. So like when we're allowed, they let us just play like the van playlist like in the club before we play, and half of it's like good music, but the other half is like terrifyingly embarrassing.
Like the Grey's Anatomy theme, or like like Crazy Frog,
Imagine Dragons or something. So like there have been times where like we'll be like we get off the stage and immediately like Amazing by Aerosmith will start playing or whatever.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that maybe cuts down the size of your pits just a little bit, just because you're scaring off the real heads with that.
Only true believers.
I've seen comments online of people being like, "Whoa, this playlist is fire," or whatever.
Or it's just like kind of destroying my brain and getting me in the right mindset to see Chat Pile. And so hopefully that's what it is. You get a little bit of good stuff and then just some pure nightmare fuel, and get you ready for the show a little bit.
Okay, so getting back to movies, like what's a film that like inspires your music?
Literally, the movie In a Glass Cage has inspired our movie, Mysterious Skin, our music, I mean. Obviously movies like Angst, The Golden Glove, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, that kind of stuff. Realism. I'm very drawn to realism, for sure.
Okay, so like, what's the difference in like your mindset when you're scoring a film versus just recording a traditional song?
Well, for scoring a movie, we were kind of open to do whatever we wanted to, so we got to do noise stuff. There's that one where me and Aaron are playing kalimbas and shit, which is kind of like the prettier side of Chat Pile. And then, you know, we basically came up with the song 10 Killer and then deconstructed it about 6 times to use throughout the movie and stuff. So kind of like old school, just coming up with a theme and then, or an overture and then using the themes throughout the movie, you know, as the score.
Yeah, it was fun to do. It was definitely a different way, like, because we saw like the early cut of the movie, so like writing to images is definitely like, you know, a different way to write music than just like getting together and jamming and playing like Chat Pile songs. So it was a cool, like, you know, exercise in like basically like working out different creative muscles that we hadn't really used. So I'd like to do more of it if any, like, you know, directors that making real movies want us to score their stuff.
Even I would say, like, going forward with chat, like regular plain old Chat Pile, like, I feel like scoring that movie empowered us to maybe explore areas that we maybe wouldn't have otherwise. And, you know, people may see that kind of stuff pop up more and more into the mainline, like, Chat Pile releases. So.
The main Chat Pile cinematic universe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking that more compositional approach sort of changed the way that you feel you'll approach the music in the future, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. We can spread out a little bit and experiment and that kind of thing, you know. I mean, it even shows up on God's Country a little bit.
Yeah, we did the score first. It just released after. So we did the score, and then like right when we were finished with the score, we started on the album. So there's like a couple songs that have like Wicked Puppet has like some kind of like tail end like interstitial track, and there's some like different, you know, stuff like that that we kind of burn.
Burn
that's like
has
the
a-
yeah. I Don't Care If I Burned, which is the song right before Grimace. Like that one definitely is like the
That was
most
majorly
similar.
inspired by like the stuff we were doing on 10 Killer for sure.
And I mean, speaking of films and their influence on your music, Pamela specifically.
Yeah.
Supposedly, the theory online that I see the most is that it was inspired by Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Hey, I have my Jason mask shirt on right now. But
Yeah.
It's inspired by that, but also beloved by Toni Morrison. It's like one of my favorite novels.
Beautiful book.
So, yeah, it's just kind of Friday the 13th fan fiction, honestly.
yeah, we're big slasher heads, or at least Ray and I. We actually went and saw Thanksgiving by Eli Roth last night, and thumbs up. Really liked it. A normal slasher movie for the first time in like a decade or more. So.
I love slasher movies because it's kind of like a warm blanket. It's just like, you know, it's like truly, it's like we're
So formulaic.
it's so formulaic in a good way, where like you know exactly what you're gonna get, and then if you get a little bit of a surprise in one, then you're like, it's thrilling, kind of, you know. So, like, and here's the thing: is like the slasher genre. There are probably more slasher movies than there are any other type of movie ever made. Like truly, like you can hop on like Amazon Prime right now and just start going down the rabbit hole, and you will. There's like an infinite amount of forgotten 80s and 90s.
Westerns, I would say, yeah. But yeah, you'll
Yeah.
never run out of slasher movies, ever.
Truly. Like your whole, you go your whole life watching slasher movies, and like you'll discover.
October Blood kind of recently.
Also,
Heard of it until we watched it. That was quite a film.
yeah, Rocktober Blood. What was the one? Hide and Go.
Hide and Go Shriek.
Shriek. That one was
What a
crazy.
Even in the description, it was like, this movie was made in a different time.
Yeah, they're
It
literally
may
warning
offend
you
you.
how problematic it's going to be. You know, so.
You know they're really proud of what they made. and they're like, okay, hang on, guys, watch out.
They're
some
like,
disclaimers.
we know our movie is technically a hate crime, but but forgive us, we didn't know what we were doing, kind of.
There's a lot of transphobia in those movies,
Oh,
unfortunately.
especially in a lot of the 80s and early 90s stuff. Yeah. It's rough.
It really is. Back to your lyrical content, though, I think what's most amazing to me is that you make a song like Pamela work. Is that if you had told me, if you have prefaced a song that I was about to listen to that I'm listening to Friday the 13th fan fiction, I'd probably be like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know what I'm in for right now. But listening to that song, it is so visceral, what is being portrayed throughout the lyrics, as well as just the wider themes of the album. Overall, between these like cries for help, honestly, the stripped back approach, especially on that song, sort of just laying bare just that desperation, the emotion behind it, as well as throughout the album, there's very much an attitude of why are things the way that they are? How did things get this way? Were you writing from a certain perspective? Was there something that pushed you to sort of take this approach? Was nihilism your goal, or was it just kind of what happened?
I wouldn't really say it's nihilism, but yeah, frustration and feeling helpless. I mean, if you don't, you need to wake up because shit is happening right now. I mean, obviously, what's happening with our country, our president supporting genocide right now in Gaza. I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot of, I don't know. If you don't feel helpless, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
And specifically, like when we were writing and recording that record, I mean, it was the height of the pandemic and a lot of the sort of Black Lives Matter racial protests. I mean, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? I mean, just Trump presidency was,
Things just keep happening.
Things just keep
We're
happening.
living through history that will be written about constantly right now.
But definitely, I mean, we hope that nihilism isn't the takeaway because, what I don't know. I feel like a nihilist perspective would be like, well, why does it matter that this stuff is happening? Whereas I think our opinion is
We're mad that
it's happening. And again, kind of like you were saying, why does it have to be this way, right? So not that we have any answers or any power to change anything, but like we're aware that there could be a better world that we live in, and we want that better world, So yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's kind of the mood.
Yeah. I mean, are there little things that, obviously that's a pretty, I don't know, not a fun place to write from, obviously, as true as it is. Are there little things that you each like to do in your lives to sort of take yourself out of that sense of helplessness that just help you feel more grounded and put together?
Yeah, well, you just have to focus on the positives and live in the moment, like just be very grateful for the things that you do have, like, for as bad as things are, the fact that we're all able to stand here in a circle together and talk to each other is something to feel happy about, or like your friends and your loved ones and your family, like all those things, like you just can't take it for granted. And then on top of that, it's like, you gotta laugh. Like, I mean, that's something that we've noticed, or at least I've noticed, like people sometimes get turned off by our live show because we don't go on stage and act like a bunch of dark boys or whatever. Like, we joke around. I mean, Raygun has stage banter that's like hilarious. We come out to "We Built This City" by Starship, and that's the thing. It's like, you just have to have a little bit of levity in your life. Like truly, if you just dwell on all the negative, you're wasting what time you have on this earth if all you're doing is giving into the weight of the world. You've got to find some levity in it and appreciate what positivity you could squeeze out of life. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, well said.
I thank you for speaking on that. I really appreciate it, and I think it's important for all of us to sort of take solace in those things that we can. And so thank you very much for speaking on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see you're a big reader. So, like, what are some books that really inspire you?
I just read The Bottoms by Joe R. Lansdale on the bus, actually, or in the van, and that was terrific. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I love Toni Morrison. I love like a lot of novels from the Native American Renaissance, like Housemaid of Dawn by N. Scott Momaday, Winter in the Blood by James Welch. I like a lot of Louise Erdrich's novels. Yeah.
Jim Thompson.
Jim Thompson, yeah. Me and Austin like Jim Thompson a lot. Who else? George Higgins is a great one. Crime I like too, but I do kind of like, I don't like fantasy or anything like that. I read, but I don't really read nonfiction either. I do kind of just like novels about people, especially people who are maybe from a more relatable socioeconomic class than, I hate when movies and books and TV are all about fucking rich people that have jobs that like I would never fucking have in a million years. I've never met anybody that has that job. And that's like what 90% of shit is, you know. So I'm seeking out the other 10%.
Architects who live in New York. It's just like,
Yeah.
they're an ad manager.
I'm a magazine editor. Like, go fuck yourself.
Okay. So like, where do you guys like see yourself evolving sonically in the future?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
I mean, in the near future, you know, we're probably gonna. You're gonna hear more of a distilled version of like the kind of established Chap Pile sound, but I think for us, there aren't really any rules. Like I think we've all kind of established that like wherever the band goes, it goes, and like, you know, we don't ever have to feel like weighed down by what people would expect from us or anything like that, you know. So, but yeah, like to put like words to it, I don't know if we've even thought about it that hard. But the stuff that we're writing for the new album is, in my opinion, kind of like a more to the point version of like God's Country, sort of.
Yeah, I think the goal, at least, or not, I don't know, we'll see what it turns into, because we could say this and then we end up writing like 6 5-minute long songs. But the goal kind of is to maybe have the second one have some songs that aren't as long as the first album, but maybe a few more tracks. So it's around the same length, but maybe just a couple more tracks.
Some might say a more punk approach. But, you know,
but you never know, because like there's half the album we haven't even started on yet, you know, and
You'll
so
probably
it's just
hear
like
one of the new songs tonight, actually.
Yeah,
And, you know, and I would say that's like pretty indicative of the handful of songs we have written already. So.
The corniest song we've ever done.
But definitely, the working title was Issues for a while.
So it's very much Korn inspired, the new song.
So one important thing I really wanted to bring to the table is, you know, I didn't want to bring it up, but there's been a real media circus. You got a 5th band member. Name the last song on your album after him and everything. And I mean, it's remarkable to me that you're laughing, because I believe at your last show you ripped him to shreds in front of your audience. Your second bass player, Grimace, what happened there? I mean, did you just creative differences, or like what warranted you tearing him to shreds?
Grimace has always been more of a concept than a person, so he had to go, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't. I don't know how to yes and this. Yeah, I don't know. The Grimace thing was more just like, it's very weird that at the same time we write the song that like McDonald's starts leaning into it more, because it's like they never contacted us. They never sent us a cease and desist either, though. But yeah, I don't know. It was more just like it was a joke that like Ray thought of, and it was like our Instagram bio, just like the title of the song, like grimacesmokingweed.jpg, and then our practice space, like he drew a little like sketch of Grimace smoking a joint, and that's been like hanging up in our practice space. So it was kind of just like, well, like a challenge to write a super serious song about a very ridiculous piece of imagery, basically.
I personally love that people have latched onto the Grimace thing. I mean, it's fun. I'd rather people latch onto something than not, you know. But I will say the one thing that's weird with all the Grimace stuff is people seem to be what I noticed is people really falling for like all the marketing bullshit that like McDonald's and stuff is doing. And like a new one that's happening is I'm getting tagged all the time, and like I guess Crocs has some type of Grimace shoe or some bullshit. But I'm like, I get it. Thank you for thinking of us, but we're not trying to do like an advertisement for McDonald's. Like the point isn't to like go and eat more McDonald's or buy their merchandise and bullshit. It's just sort of like a concept.
We live in a part of the country where fast food is so pervasive that's like it's hard to write about this type of stuff without like that
Americana. Yeah. And like I feel like in a lot of ways we are an Americana band, you know. But by no means are we trying to like be an advertisement for fast food or like fucking chintzy merchandise or whatever, you know.
Most like the biggest restaurant on earth or whatever, McDonald's. But it is just, you know. But I understand memes, you know. I get it.
And again,
it's funny.
It's cool. It's awesome that people think of us, and you know, it's just a double-edged sword. It's kind of.
So you're telling me that McDonald's is not funding your sophomore album?
Absolutely not. But they haven't sued us into the ground yet. So you know, it's kind of
his name's not Grimace, it's Grim Guy. If you look on the web store, it's the Grim Guy shirt.
Important distinction, and you know,
yeah.
fast food is so very pervasive pervasive as well as Grimace in our I like to think of it as middle American repression, that really just feeds that sort of pervasiveness.
Rainbow Meat on our first EP, has the Arby's line. It's just, it's not like, oh, we're always going to have like a fast food song on every release, but it's just like, sadly, I look back at my life and I have to think I've eaten more fast food meals than non-fast food meals just growing up with like a single mom and stuff, so I don't know. It's part of, we're from Oklahoma City. The part where we're from, it's just chain life is so a part of growing up that it's just part of the culture.
Oklahoma City to Iowa City. We're very, very appreciative that you decided to come out here on your tour this fine November night, and we wanted to give you a little something. Sorry. Here, right here.
Okay.
A little gift from KRUI 89.7 here in Iowa City. If you want to unfurl it, take a look.
Sweet. The flag.
DSA. Oh, is this a DSA thing? Oh, cool.
Nice. Okay.
Hell yeah. We'll throw it up in
thank
the
you for the
fucking
gift.
practice
Very cool.
space.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You want to take a quick zoom out for a second?
I mean, I guess. Sure. I mean,
Yeah. But thank you all so much for doing the interview and coming out to Iowa City. We appreciate it so much. And you can throw that away if you want.
cool, man.
Might need it as a blanket.
Hey, you're rocking the shorts still, so I can't blame you. But
That's I made choices. I have to live with them.
made your bed, now you got to sleep in it.
Exactly.
But hey, we'll see you inside at the show.
Thank you guys again
Let me
for.
just say, as somebody who grew up in the era, those are some of the biggest jeans I've ever seen in my life.
We started the conversation, with some gene talk,
I love that they're coming back personally because I have very good memories of